Good evening, everyone. You are watching a live broadcast. It is May the 7th, just after 8 p.m. Central Time. Multiple countries around our world are said to be enacting lockdown protocols, or at least isolation and contact tracing, for what some believe will be the next pandemic. A lot of people are messaging me today, and they're saying that they're concerned with two things. Some people are concerned with the actual event. Others are even more concerned with what the governments of our world will do with an event like this. Now, I don't see it as being a big problem, but I told my brother that it's really only two choices. On par with the bubonic plague, if this was some sort of laboratory changed thing, we would be looking at the bubonic plague in modern days. A 3 to 4 week window, able to be carried by rats, passed from person to person. A lot of people are getting concerned about it. I'm not, because I feel like this is one of two things. One, it's going to fizzle out and die very quickly. The Andes strain of this particular disease does have close transmission between people. They cough, they touch things. We get it. But it has always died out. So unless something happened back with the scientists making some changes, or unless we just had a really crappy card dealt to us by the world right now, I see it as dying out. Option two, of course, is the end of the world as we know it. Well, I did some comparisons because I was in contact with some of our community members who are virologists. They work in the field. They don't want to ever be named. One of them has been on the show before. I think I may have taken his interview down. He's like, I don't want to be named because what I'm going to tell you will basically get him blacklisted throughout his entire department, could get him fired. So some of the epidemiological outbreak models that we discussed, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase with you some of what we looked at, is that if we see a mutated, whether that's man-made or whether that is natural, if we see a mutated form that is at the current known hantavirus levels, that's an R value or a spreading value of 2.0 to 2.5, puts you at a mid case or mid range of 2.25, an incubation period. So from the time the person actually inhaled something to the time they get sick, 1 to 4 weeks, puts you at the mid value of 2.5 weeks. Strong pre-symptomatic transmission and a CFR, or a case fatality rate, of 30% with no global quarantines. The comparison to the bubonic plague is startling, but I'm not afraid. I don't want you to be afraid. So don't look at this like, oh gosh, I need to absolutely lock down my world right now. I need to make changes. No, I just want you to be aware. Thank you so much. Ingrid says, Brad, you are awesome, my friend. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the full spectrum survival family. So it would be a mass extinction event. Now, the comparisons that we have looked at are that, unlike the Black Death, the bubonic plague, which was primarily flea and rat borne. Now, there is some science that suggests during that time, the mites on people's skin actually had some transmissibility. We don't know that for sure, but definitely rat and flea borne. So is this one. Had limited pneumonic person-to-person spread. The bubonic plague, the Black Death, where they had carts of people bringing their dead out, had limited pneumonic or person-to-person spread. Instead, it relied on a scenario in which people would slowly traverse to another port, another area. They would infect 1 or 2 people. It actually had a less spreadability level than the current disease we're looking at. So the modeling assumptions that we discussed, and again, don't be afraid of this. Just be aware, and mostly be aware of what they might do with this. And what I mean is international airline and travel restrictions enforced by law enforcement, lockdown procedures. Because again, if it were to go the wrong way, and this was something cooked up out of somewhere, or just crazily we got dealt a apocalyptic card by the earth, you'd be looking at 4 people out of 10 people dying. So if you've got a household of 4, almost half of them don't make it through it. And it matters a little bit what your age is, what your preconditions are, but mostly it doesn't. It's like if I had to choose, and I said this on our last show, if I had to choose between this virus, just getting it from a rat in a shed, or HIV, I'd choose that one. So on par with the bubonic plague, if we have a timeline that starts today, May the 7th, and we consider a modeling assumption, and this was what the virologist told me, we consider a modeling assumption of pre-symptomatic contagious spread and a weekly growth multiplier of about 1.35, and deaths lagging, the people who are fatal from it, lagging by 3 to 5 weeks. The Black Death in comparison had an estimated early doubling time of 43 days. This particular disease, if we're really being dealt a crap card, aided by pre-symptomatic spread, would double in 2 to 3 weeks. So you're looking at the difference in a month and a half with the bubonic plague, the Black Death, to 2.5 weeks. Again, please, I can't say this enough. No fear over this. Watchful waiting. Speaking of watchful waiting, we just got to see today the Trump administration engage militarily with Iran. And we got to see this because Iran decided that they were going to lob some missiles over at some of our ships. And I want you to see one of the posts we just saw out of Iran right here behind me. They never forget to throw out that famous phrase of the Middle East. Fired Up Jim, thank you for the super chat. Thanks, Brad, Kelly, and family for everything. Your dedication is unmatched. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the support for my family. This was out from Iran. Reportedly, this is a video of them firing against one of our missile destroyers inside of the region. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait have lifted all the restrictions. You know, they recently put restrictions on the United States of America's military ability to use their airspace. And that's why Trump stopped Project Freedom. According to Saudi officials who are backing up United States officials, they have now reversed that and they've said, okay, we need to go. You can use whatever you need to. The Trump administration is now considering a restart of Operation Project Freedom, one that will guide commercial ships using American naval and air support. It was only live for 36 hours. That's a big turnaround. Coincidentally, and I'm never a fan of coincidence, coincidentally, Iran just met with China, in which China basically gave Iran the big thumbs up. And they said, you know what, you're doing it right. You just keep on going. And that was China's signal to Iran that they were going to continue China's version of a proxy war, just like Europe and NATO use our proxy war with Ukraine against Russia. So it's a little bit of a tit for tat in that regard. So Saudi Arabia is back in the game. Here we have an Iranian-backed news outlet. This is Press TV. A little bit more of that footage coming out from international sources. Here we have a 57-character EAM coming out.
3, 1, Hotel, Romeo, 7, Juliet, Yankee, X-ray, Charlie, 6, Delta.
Much love in return, BC. All right, this is a video. This is an image you never want to see. These guys are geared up. There's so much bad behavior happening around what they're saying. When I say they're already doing the lockdowns, I'm going to tell you exactly what they're doing. They've already contact traced in areas like Spain, and they've told everyone that is associated, you must, under law enforcement, remain inside of your house until June. The medics will come to you. The doctors will come to you. I don't know if in those countries they pay for the people's bills. I'm not sure if they'll step in this type of case where they're court ordered basically to self-quarantine and self-isolate. But I see a lot of people that are And this happened at a recent national security meeting. One of the individuals at that national security meeting said, well, if you wanted to make a real plague that would spread across the earth, you'd do it with Hantavirus. And that's exactly what's going on. I want you to watch this video.
Now, I want to stress that there have been no public health incidents linked to these materials. So we have no evidence so far of any event occurring as a result of the loss or the destruction of these materials.
So this was back in late 2024, I believe, maybe 2025. This is a lab containing 323 vials of also hantavirus, a particular strain with a 38% fatality rate, disappeared from a freezer at the Ministry of Health's guided laboratories. So the material, just like we recently had, the United States of America has had biolabs here. I'm sure you guys have seen the news broadcasts, official broadcasts. A lot of what else happened with that was unofficial. Those official broadcasts warned of Chinese, and in one case Israeli, elements inside of the USA operating a biolaboratory attempting to alter an airborne disease. From what I heard, they were trying to mix up a little bit of, I think it was herpes, with hepatitis C, HIV, and something else. Basically make it spread through the air like hepatitis, never be curable like herpes, and have some body damaging effects like HIV. So when we hear that they have lost these materials, and we have biolabs, and the guys are showing up like this, and there's so much wrong information out there, I have to get a little bit concerned, right? So I'm going to read to you a little bit more of that discussion that I had with the virologist. Again, they are pressing you. Do not be afraid. Be educated. Because no matter what the world does, if we ever experience an outbreak of this level, of a bubonic plague plus level, there is nothing the world can do. You will be riding it out. They're not telling you put on your masks inside of your car with your windows up. No. These are very sound-minded people that basically say, we hope not. It doesn't look like it yet. If it happens, we are all screwed. So some of the information that I got was a week-by-week projection in which we went over the math models that he has in a mid-case. So a mid-case is not worst-case scenario, not best-case scenario. The mid-case was that this week, which he considered week 0, week goose egg, you would only have 50 to 60 infections. And that makes sense. With an R value or a spreading value of 2.0 to 2.5, one person generally affects 2. 2 people affect 4. 4 people affect 8. It goes on like that. So around this time, week 0, you would have around 50 to 60 new infections with a total infection number of around 80. The notes that he put on week 0 this week was that it would be mostly airplane seeding and initial ship arrival seeding. Now, seeding means just like you throw seeds out into the field. Some pop up, some don't. Some make it into the ground, some don't. Now, week 1, next week, is where he called it silent amplification. And again, this is not saying that this is what is happening. Just be educated at what could happen in a mid-range scenario. The best case, and what I think is going to happen, is we're about to see some scare in the media, and it's going to fizzle out. But it doesn't have to. And that's the part, especially if there's some sort of behind the scenes going on. So at week 1, next week, silent amplification or seeding. The plague had far slower speed. Bubonic plague had far slower speed than this. Week 2, then you'll start, so around May 21st. So mark this date down around May 21st. Write it down, put a note in your calendar, whatever it is. Around May 21st is when you would be seeing small, very small, but probably mainstream media amplified clustering. So you'd be hearing about some people who were PCR positive in hospital. You'd be hearing about all these things. Now, right now, and I just sent this link to my brother, and I want you to look at it also. Let me see if I can find it here. The real concern right now they're talking about is they're telling all the flight attendants to basically watch out. And I'm going to kind of read this to you with you so that we can see. This isn't what makes mainstream media, of course. This is just what we have to dig and see. And that's why I like to scroll so that you guys don't have to. So what do flight attendants need to know? Well, they say they're monitoring people, and this information lags a little bit behind. What is it? They talk about it. The occupational guideline is the cabin environment. Make sure that you're not seeing anything that you shouldn't. They're telling them to start wearing N95 masks right now. They're telling them to screen the passengers right now. They're telling them how to manage sick passengers, saying that they should treat all bodily fluids as infectious. Now, the information that I have seen on known spreads of this type of disease where there have been person-to-person clusters, I'll give you an example as a birth date. There was a birthday party. Let me see if I can find it. So birthday party hantavirus. This was, I think, back in 2018, if I had to, 2018 through 2019. There was an outbreak of this strain with person-to-person transmission. One person, an infected individual, was with fever, attended a party. This one person led to 34 confirmed cases and 11 deaths. That's no joke. Now, all the things they did wrong in our last trial run of lockdowns, as we'll call them, this is either one of two things. It's either nothing and it fizzles out. Some people get sick. There will be some loss of life. It's going to suck. And it fizzles out. It dies. It goes away. Or two, it's worse than the Black Plague. Now, you would know, because today I would have no beard. You would know, you're going to be able to tell how I consider this with me saying nothing, because I'll have no beard. Because we have a family of 4. Thank you so much, Benzer888. Thanks for what you do. $9.99 super chat. I appreciate you. Thanks for supporting my family. I have a family of 4. 4 people live in my house, me, my wife, and my 2 children. At 40%, about 2 are dying. That sucks. So you would see me with no beard. That's how you can tell. So if I've got a beard on, I'm not that worried about it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go get an escort in some seedy Atlanta, Georgia town because I don't want to expose myself to anything unnecessary. And similarly, I'm not going to go on a cruise ship right now. Somebody asked about a Indy 500. Do you think the Indy 500 could be a super spreader event with people from all over the world, adding 500,000 people in one county and some surrounding areas? Could it be? Yes. The environment, though, and we talked about that with the virologist, and we talked about one person. I said, what about one person? Let's go over the math on this. And this guy's much smarter than me. He has access to modeling that I have no access to. We sat down and we went through the modeling. I asked, what is one person's chance of infection week by week for the next 18 weeks? And this took a long time. So you're being able to get a summary of hours and hours. What is each one person's chance of contraction if we're talking about the bad one? If we're talking about Black Plague level, not a fizzle out, because I'm hoping and thinking it's a fizzle out. I still got my beard on. But if we're talking about the bad one, what is each person's week by week for 18 weeks chance of infection for attending a flight or attending a concert? So the week by week for attending a flight stays relatively low up until July. you're at about a 1% chance of infection if we're talking about the bad one just by getting on a flight. 1% seems like nothing until you have millions of people in the air every day. And that's where weeks and weeks. It took the Black Plague years to decimate Europe. This we would be talking about 1 year. 1 year you would see every worst horror movie, every worst TV show. That's what our everyday life would be like. Again, I'm not afraid. Got my beard on still. I'm just not exposing myself to anything unnecessary like like going and getting an escort. Week 18 summary. At the end of week 18, you have about a 3% daily risk. As far as concert goes, you have a 8% at the end of the weeks, even higher in some cases. So just consider that when you're asking about things like the Indy 500. At where we're at right now in his explanation of week 0. Stop, my beard still on. Where we're at right now, again, I'm not even worried about it. It's just on my radar. There's tons of things on my radar. What's North Korea doing with their nukes? What is China doing with Taiwan? What's Russia and Ukraine doing with their forced 2-day ceasefire? What's Iran doing with their bombed out uranium powder? What are American citizens doing with the higher than ever gas prices? What about the people who are trying to draw division inside of our country? What is civil war looking like? Those are just things on my radar. I'm going to keep looking into them, and I'll tell you when I think it's something worth looking at. Right now, this is something just worth looking at. Keep it on your radar. You have people coming to you afraid. Tell them don't worry about it. Remember that date that I gave you. March 21st. If by March 21st, you start to see heavily publicized, so every news organization out there talking about clusters and real hospital clusters, just notch it up a little bit. Be like, okay, it's a little bit closer on my radar. Because if it's not March 21st with clusters inside of your country, it's going to the nothing side. Don't worry about it. So the chance of infection, according to the virologist, at the end of week 18, going to a concert, you're at about 8+%, which is not a great odds. You're almost at 10%. Now, to put into perspective, what does that mean for you and me? Every day you get in your car and drive, there's about a 2%, 1 to 2% chance of an accident. Now, thankfully, I hope that everybody watching didn't get in an accident today. But a lot of people did. And driving long enough with enough erratic drivers and craziness out there, people are going to get in accidents. So that's to put it into perspective. All right, he also said that the overall hospital cluster detection timeline we talked about. Modern Western hospitals will see undeniable overreach by mid-June. That's 3 to 6 weeks post-event. By mid-June onward, you see a pattern that becomes undeniable. Now, just yesterday, we had a hospital in California. I don't know if this is the hospital that the person from the ship went to. They locked it down. They said no more emergency services. Can't drive your ambulances in here, and they didn't say why. So again, that's just something on my radar. It's something worth watching. When you compare detection to the bubonic plague, the Black Death, medieval hospitals, they weren't really hospitals, right? But doctors, they recognized it through very visible symptoms. You know, people were outbreaking on their face everywhere. And you had massive deaths. If we were talking about this being on that level, you would see a delayed but sharper image due to the high CFR, or the case fatality rate, and unusual pulmonary presentation. So you would want to be looking out for things like hospitals across the country experiencing more pneumonia than average. Overall speed comparison to the Black Death. Geographic dissemination. In today's world, our modern air travel enables global seeding in weeks versus years. The growth rate would double every 2 to 3 weeks. Back during the Black Death, it doubled every 43 days, or about a month and a half. The transmission efficacy of this, if it was worst case scenario, would be airborne transmission plus pre-symptomatic transmission. Back during the Black Death, it was vector-borne. So it was only, you had to actually be there. The modern context is that our population density today amplifies a problem. We just didn't have the same number of people then. Now we've got a little bit better hygiene. But again, and this is where the nuts really meet the bolts in what I talked to him about. I said, okay, so what would we be looking at with clustered pneumonia or pulmonary hospital presentation? And he said the real issue is that it's a 40% mortality rate. So 4 out of 10 people croak from this. And if it was end of the world style plague, which he doesn't think it is right now, but he's watching. I don't think it is right now but I'm watching. He said, if it was that, if we had some sort of lab escape or we had some sort of other problem take place, the problem with hospital presentation is that 40%, 4 out of 10 people croak. And the people who go with presenting symptoms of pneumonia stay alive because they get put into a medically induced coma and put on a ventilator. That means there's only a certain number of people that are going to have access to that sort of care because that fills up real quick. Every hospital only has 1, sometimes 3 maybe ECMO stations, ventilation stations with the capacity to handle it. So he said that's the real issue. That by March 21st, we would see undeniable presentation of clusters. By June, you would see undeniable overwhelming. Now we're in, May 21st. Guys, please, thank you. May 21st. I keep saying March because it's an M, and I guess I'm a little dyslexic. So May 21st. So we still got some time here, right? What is that? 2 more weeks to just keep a lookout, okay? All right, let's see what else we've got going on out here. Home to 1 million people. Asia's most densely populated slum. Everybody tells me, Brad, the American people would never stand for the conditions like we warn about. Look at the conditions that people live in every day. I think the American people will stand for it. Here's what's going on in Texas.
North Texas City is canceling a big private event they had planned at an indoor water park, and this is after the governor got involved, threatened to pull more than $500,000 in funding. The governor claims the event was advertised as Muslim only. And let me show you a couple things.
Now, a lot of people are telling me there's no such thing as a religious extremist takeover in our country. Then why were they having this event, government-driven event, as
Muslim only
in Texas, the big dog state, right? Guns out, guns a blaring, Wild West.
As Muslim only.
Well, I think that you and I can start to see that the money is really what controls the politics around the world. Maryland homeowners are going to pay $1.6 billion extra on their electrical bills over the next 10 years to subsidize the grid costs to feed the data centers, according to the state. Again, you paying extra is just a conspiracy. This is a massive fire. Don't know if it was sabotage or not. Sun's out, guns out. A massive fire. We don't know what the cause of it was. This was in Mexico. This is at a shopping plaza. This, everybody, is why you and your family, when you go into a store, you must, beyond every shadow of a doubt, know quick exits. At the back of a store, by the time you're aware of something bad happening at the front of the store, you cannot get out without knowing those exits. So make sure that you put it into the minds of your family, your kids. Know where the exits are and just get outside first. Figure it out from there. Find somewhere safe at that point. But your egress or your ability to move outside of a threat saves more lives than the quickest runner that could get back out the front door. So this is again down in Mexico where they've had multiple sabotage linked events to their oil facilities. Donald Trump put this out. 3 world-class American destroyers transited the Strait of Hormuz under fire. Now, America says there was no damage. Iran says they hit the vessels. Unfortunately, under the guidelines of national security, America doesn't have to admit to damage. The troops on board the vessels are not allowed to say what happened, and the media inside of our country is not allowed to say what happened. So we have to believe either the Iranians firing the missiles or the Americans as we attempt to retain psychological control over this war. And I think that we could argue that the Iranians will lie and America will lie, each to gain an advantage in this conflict. So Trump says the missiles were shot down. The attacking vessels were incinerated. They dropped beautifully, he says, into the ocean, very much like a butterfly dropping to its grave. A normal country would have allowed these destroyers to pass, but Iran is not normal. They are led by lunatics, Donald Trump says. And if they had the chance to use a nuclear weapon, they would do it without question. But they will never, according to our commander-in-chief, have that opportunity. Just like we knocked them out again today, we'll knock them out a lot harder and a lot more violently in the future if they don't get their deal signed fast. Our 3 destroyers with their wonderful crews will now rejoin our naval blockade, which is truly a wall of steel.
Hey, Kentucky, did you ever wonder what in the fuck is going on
Okay, I was hoping he wasn't cussing.
in the last 3 years? Now, why have we had 9 price increases in the last 3 years with our power and water? Well, that's because we have 30 data sales price increases. Because
Now, this Kentucky resident is discussing what people all over our country are experiencing. They're raising your price to subsidize the data centers. And we just saw Maryland, the state agency, saying that they would get from the people an extra $1.6 billion with a big bearded B. $1.6 billion more they're going to charge you for electricity to subsidize these data centers. Now, my wife brought up to me last night, and this is interesting, because remember, we could be facing something crazy. My wife brought up as we were laying in bed, after we had done, our family does a thankful every night, so we say we're thankful for and what we want to do tomorrow. Kids went to sleep. We're laying there in bed. And she says, isn't that timing kind of interesting that one, the World Health Organization just had their Operation Polaris 2, which simulated a worldwide plague level, full on civilization destroying plague from a cruise ship. And 2, they're building these data centers and robotics so that they don't need humans. And that was one of those coincidence events that I really think about. And I'm like, okay, I would like to be like, no, that's crazy talk, right? Let me pull off my conspiracy glasses. That would never happen. Well, I don't know about that anymore. Okay, let's get back to talking a little bit about what me and the virologist discussed. The Black Death devastated Europe. It killed 30 to 60% of everybody. This contagion, if it doesn't just fizzle out, if we're looking at some sort of bad card dealt by the earth or something worse made by man, you'd be looking at 4 out of 10. So the Black Death killed 3 to 6 out of 10. You'd be looking at 4 out of 10 right here. And despite the slower spread, a novel airborne pathogen would create an even greater disruption around the world than the Black Death. It's enough to perk my ears at least. Again, for anybody just tuning in, we are looking at the world facing multiple crisis events at the same time. There's a lot of concern because in Spain, they just quarantined under law enforcement the contacts of the person from that cruise ship, told them they had to stay inside of their house until June. I don't know if they're allowed to go outside and smoke a Spanish cigarette, have some Spanish rice. I have no idea. But I know that they said that they cannot leave their house until June, and they'll send the medics, the doctors, and anything they need up to their front door. So we're watching two, just like America says that there's no damage to anything. We're the best military, and China shows the satellites of all the damage that they have performed against America. Those two stories don't exist together. They're not even perception. We're looking at the same thing with this disease. We are looking, all the while aliens, right? Did anybody see it? If you haven't seen it yet, I want you to look it up. There was an X-Files TV broadcast that showed a Hantavirus plague as a cover-up for an alien attack. And right now we're looking at a world war, crop problems, supply issues, food problems, a hantavirus plague potential, and the discussion that the White House is opening up alien information to everybody. Again, we're living in a lot of coincidence, aren't we? All right, let's see. We've got caveats and recommendations that we discussed. The percentage chance of activity, we went over that a little bit. Let me get down to the phased response recommendation by the virologist. In the immediate phase, late May 2026, upon the first confirmed clusters, so again, around May 21st, when the clusters are confirmed, the government would have to push for strict isolation of suspected cases, a 35-day quarantine for all close contacts of those 35 cases, and targeted travel restrictions from all regional areas. Escalating that into June, if we're talking about Black Death level, you would have regional lockdown, stay-at-home orders, closures of schools, non-essential business closures, concert closures, and large indoor gathering closures, mask mandates, improved ventilation requirements in public spaces, suspension of high-risk activities. At a national scale from June onward, according to their math models, you would have broad international lockdowns that are not similar to what we experienced in America. They're more similar to China welding the doors of everyone's house closed and coming to pick up the dead later. Now, the 1 to 4 week incubation period that is known with this variation that spreads person to person, if it has symptomatic transmission, is a silent spread phase, he said. By the time the hospital clusters become visible, May 21st of this year, 2 weeks away, you would already see hundreds, maybe thousands potentially infected. And given a 4 out of 10 or 3 out of 10 death rate, you would see an overwhelming response, maximizing the effectiveness of non-pharmaceutical interventions. In comparison to the Black Death, the historical response to the bubonic plague involved port quarantine, isolating everybody who was sick. But these isolations were implemented too late, so they weren't effective. He said to understand what we're facing right now, modern surveillance does have early detection. However, with efficient Black Death level person-to-person transmission, global travel would have a comprehensive damnation to societies everywhere. Now I said, okay, well, let's look at it compared to the early pre-Omicron COVID. And he said the responses showed that Wuhan, when they were welding the doors shut of everybody, that was far more effective than any delayed actions anywhere else. Basically, it let the hospitals catch up. If you delay, he said if you delay beyond mid-June, is basically endgame. So we see Spain right now locking people basically in their house. We see every other country, almost except Africa, saying we're just going to wait and see. And that's the duality that he worried about. Okay, let's see what else we've got going on here. Consumers are already running out of money, according to CEOs. He says this is the Kraft Heinz. So Kraft is mac and cheese, Heinz is ketchup, and everything that conglomerate owns. Executives across retail, restaurants, and packaged goods are worried about U.S. shoppers with tighter budgets and surging gas prices. He says they are literally running out of money. We're seeing negative cash flows in the lower income brackets where they're now dipping into savings. And I think that they're still months behind reality. Everybody with low income who was dipping into their cash flows was doing it 6 months ago. Thank you so much for the super chat. Comes from Michael Davison. The news and information that you and your family provide is the number one source my family listens to. My family is prepared for most anything thanks to this information and guidance. God bless you and your family. Many blessings in return, and thank you so much for the super chat. Somebody talked about the letter I medicine. Look into it. That's all I'm going to say is do some research. This particular virus, there's an interferon response, and an interferon, let's see if we can just get a pretty easy to, what's an interferon? An interferon is a cytokine. So you've heard of a cytokine storm, right? That's when you get too much phlegm, your lungs fill up with mucus, get pneumonia, you die. Interferon is released by host cells, mainly white blood cells, in response to pathogens like viruses, bacteria, and cancer. So with that medicine, and I'm not saying anything about it, there's some suggestion that it lowers interferon response, which is good against cytokine storms, but there's a duality there that it has the ability to not just delete this particular virus. But I'll tell you what, if we're looking at Black Plague, if somebody told me that eating this card would be the cure-all, give me some ketchup and give me some salt. I'm going in. I'm going in, folks. No beard and all. All right, let's see what else we've got going on.
This is a favor to the world because it's their ships that are stranded. It's their fuel supplies that are stranded. By the way, it's their there's humanitarian aid destined for different countries in the world that's stranded in the Persian Gulf right now. It's the fertilizer that they need for their food and crops that's stranded in the Persian, not our fertilizer, their fertilizer. This is a favor to the world because it's...
Now, Marco Rubio, again, that's not the truth because our fertilizer in America is our problem. That's one of the weak points that we have because we don't convert the oil that we have to fertilizer cheaply enough for our farmers can get it. They just can't afford it. Trump counterterrorism strategy brands Europe as an incubator for terror events. They unveiled this new strategy. Now, my concern with this strategy, I don't know if you've read anything about it yet, is it has a lot of language that can be interpreted as American aggressors. Oh, and it talks about it right here, so let's look at that. Certain political groups are a major preoccupation for the president's administration. The strategy targets what it calls violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists and anti-fascists. It will prioritize the rapid identification and neutralization. I always love to see that word when the government is talking about American citizens. The rapid neutralization of political groups whose ideology is anti-American. And he goes on to say some other things that YouTube doesn't like. I don't think, what could get worse right now, right? Really, where's the buffer area? Because across our country right now, we are seeing absolute madness and across the world.
Another place where President Trump, I think, altered our foreign policy was Ukraine. And at least when I was listening to him, I think what he said is, this is a stalemate. Let's call it a stalemate. Let's get past that. How does a diplomat deal with a stalemate? Assuming you agree, it sort of is a stalemate. It seems unlikely to me that Ukraine's going to take back all the territory Russia's had. It seems unlikely Russia's going to take all of Ukraine.
Yeah. I think we got to start by recognizing why it was so important that we engage in support of Ukraine. It wasn't simply that we saw, one larger country.
Now that's Blinken. There's a lot that can be said about Blinken. What they're discussing is the American engagement in the Russian conflict. Yeah, let's talk about for a second, what if the grid goes down? And Don says it right. You've got to be prepared for a lot of things. I've always said, if you can survive 2 weeks by camping with no access to anywhere, that means you can gather your water and filter it. You have a food plan. You have a defense plan against crazy people in the woods. You have a defense plan against wild animals. You know how to keep your shelter so that you're safe from the elements. You can make a fire. You're good. All you've got to do from that point is apply each one of those techniques further. And you've got to say, okay, well, my plan, instead of just 2 weeks of food prep, is 2 months, 6 months. My shelter is not just my tent or my tarp and hammock. My shelter is my house. And my preps, instead of just for 2 weeks, becomes what happens if my windows get knocked out, a storm takes out my roof. Do I have the materials on hand to be able to make those patches to secure my shelter again? Your water, instead of just 2 weeks of water filtration, you've got to think bigger. 1 gallon per day per person, not including washing your hands or you're behind. So can I gather enough water? Did you know that it wasn't even 150 years ago? It was the jobs. We were paying the youth to take water from the lake. They would carry it in buckets over with a stick, like a shovel, over their neck, 2 buckets on each side, and they would deliver it to people's houses. So water carrying was a legitimate business. In bigger towns, they would have guys come in with giant, basically, what are those things that like rum and everything is made in, whiskey is made in, a liquor barrel, a whiskey barrel. But there would be 50 gallons. They'd fill them up bucket by bucket with water. The donkey or the horse would move it into the town and they'd deliver water. So if you can camp for 2 weeks and you can filter your water, find your water, make sure that you don't have sediment in it, make it safe to drink, then you just got to expand that and say, okay, what do I need to do for 2 years? Well, one Sawyer Mini water filter, which costs under $30, I have no affiliation, filters 100,000 gallons of water. Its areas of failure are that if it freezes, it's done. If it freezes with water in it. So if you've never used it, don't worry about it. If it freezes with water in it, it's done. If you get too much sediment or dirt and leaves and everything inside of it, it's not useful anymore. It becomes basically done. Still effective, but at a very lower scale. So what else do you have? Well, you've got large filter systems. You've got reverse osmosis. You've got solar distillation. You've got fire or heat distillation. You've got electrical distillation. You have options here. But for under $30, you could buy 1 or 2 Sawyer Mini filters. Make sure that you're pre-filtering so that you don't get any sediment inside of it. You would pre-filter by having like a 5-gallon bucket set up with either t-shirts over the top of it or a sand filter that you build. You would pour it into there first, and using PVC and a little ball valve, you would let the water out of that into your Sawyer Mini filter, and that's what you would drink from. Hey, Alaska, how are you? Yeah, the schmutz deck is it's really gross, actually. You wouldn't want to eat it. The schmutz deck is what's on top of the sand filter layer, and it's a bioactive algae-like film That's the first level of your protection. Then by the time it gets through the sand, the rock, the sediment, the sand, the charcoal, you've got clean and drinkable water. And across America, they actually had plans to make giant citywide, or townwide, really, townwide sand filters, but it wasn't economical enough to do it, so they found other methods of filtration. Now we're at chemical filtration, and I'm kind of wishing we had a giant sand filter out there somewhere instead of these data centers that are popping up all over the country. Maybe we could just turn every data center into a sand filter, get the chemicals out of the water system, actually have good drinking water. People wouldn't be drinking nasty stuff out of their tap. That's a make America healthy again kind of dream for me. Okay, let's see. I want to cover a little bit more about the outbreak. And you know what? Let's look and see while we're looking at this. Let's see if we've got any new news on it. Just live here while we're watching this live show together. Thank you guys for taking some of the time out of your night to... Oh, here's Trump. Okay, I think this is important that we watch this together.
Hantavirus, have you been briefed on the virus?
Yes, I have.
Can you tell us what you've learned in these briefings?
Well, I think you're going to be told everything, and you already have. It's very much, we hope, under control. It was the ship, and I think we're going to make a full report about it tomorrow. We have a lot of people, a lot of great people studying it. It should be fine.
So there's the president to the United States of America. You're watching this live on Full Spectrum Survival on YouTube. Please thumbs up this video, share it off site, hype the video if you see the options to. So Donald Trump right there saying that he has been briefed, and we consider it probably classified information right now because the president is made aware of information that you and I can't even think that we're going to get access to. So he says that he has been briefed on this hantavirus outbreak, and the words that stand out to me.
Told everything, and you already have. It's very much, we hope, under control.
We hope it's under control. Donald Trump saying that we hope it's under control. And that's what this whole broadcast tonight is about. Because again, if you're just tuning in, I have a community member here, good longtime friend. He's a virologist, and he's not a scare guy. He wasn't out there with a mask inside of his own house. If he's not fearful of it. But he said that, Brad, if this happens, and if it's bad, it's end of the world bad. There's only two options. It's either fizzle out and die away. A couple of people get sick. There are some fatalities, and that sucks. And no one is not saying that sucks. That's the best case scenario. He said the only other option is that it's end of the world bad. And if it's end of the world bad, then we're looking at grid down collapse in a year. And that's a lot scarier to me than Iran having a nuclear weapon. I would be more concerned about bubonic plague, black plague spread than I am ever afraid of Iran having a nuclear weapon. Than I am afraid of an economic collapse. Than I am afraid of looters and rioters, because those are going to come with it. So if we're talking about a year with, at the worst case, an end of the world collapse, that is something that we need to be aware of. Not afraid of, aware of. And you as an individual, my wife and I, we just set out our own triggers last night. Our survival group, we set out our own triggers. And not everybody is on board, okay? Because a lot of people have a really bad taste in their mouth because of what they did to us with the last one. Not everyone is on board. But our contracted group understanding that we've all written, we've all signed, we all agreed to, is that if you're not on board with what the group says, then if we come to that particular fork in the road, you go your own way. No harm, no foul, no problems. You just decided that this was not the direction you were going to go, and we will still each provide mutual support to each other to the best of our ability. That way you don't have any, any hard times between each other. If somebody in your group says, hey, I'm not okay with what you're doing, whether it's riots or protests or lockdowns or whatever it is, if they're like, hey, I'm not okay with that, and your group continues to project that level of security, don't shun them. Don't be like, you're an idiot, get out of here. How could you hate your family? No, that's not right. Number one, because then they're going to be mad. And mad people make mad decisions. And number two, I understand that we all have to threat assess ourselves every day. You decide. I don't decide whether you're going to put on a seatbelt on, and a law doesn't decide whether you're going to. You decide. And if you decide not to put on your seatbelt, that's your decision. And that's okay. You have your consequences for your decision. And I'm not saying they're going to be bad. That's just a reality that we all face every day. If you decide to smoke, your decision. You decide to drink, your decision. You decide to get escorts, your decision. You decide to do anything that you decide to do, good and bad. You decide to eat healthy, that's your decision. It's not mine. You can't impose yours on me, and I can't impose mine on yours, and I wouldn't want to. So if we reach that fork in the road for one particular point or trigger of a preparedness group or a family's decision, you still try to provide as much mutual assistance that you can that keeps you in line with your direction. So if your direction is lockdowns and PPE or complete avoidance because 4 out of 10 people are croaking to the new Black Death, what can we even call it? Can we call it the Black Death anymore? I got to think we got to call it the it death. That's what it'll be. The it death of 2026. Taking out every individual. So we have to make our own triggers. My wife and I in our group, we just made our triggers last night because it's in my awareness. I'm not afraid. Beard isn't shaved off. Not wearing PPE gear. You're not going to see me like that. If you do see me with my beard off, then you are. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Then you know at least my threat level idea elevated a little bit. Unless I tell you that, man, I got the itch. I got some crabs in here and the crabs won't go away. So I had to shave it off. I do have eczema, but I don't have it often. I'm just saying you might see the beard at some point in the future and there's not a biological event. But make your triggers. That May 21st timeline that we talked about earlier in this broadcast, in which the virologist said that by May 21st, so 2 weeks from today, you would begin to see small localized clustering. That will elevate a little bit, maybe not to beard off level, but it will elevate a little bit above just keep an eye on it. You know, when you're going down the street and some guy's walking and he's aware, and you can tell people that are aware, right? The wolf sees the sheep and the wolf sees other wolves. The lions see the hyenas. They're both aware. When you see somebody walking down the street, they walk next to your car, and you know that they see you. You don't get out of your car and in a measure of bravado, decide that you're going to attack them. No. What you do instead is watch. You don't have to directly watch. You don't have to give them the stank eye that might bring about its own level of altercation. You're just aware. You side-eye it. And right now I'm side-eyeing this event. And I'm just looking and saying, okay, I see you. I see what Donald Trump just said.
Hantavirus, have you been briefed on the virus?
Yes, I have.
Can you tell us what you've learned in these briefings?
Well, I think you're going to be told everything, and you already have. It's very much, we hope, under control. It was the ship, and I think we're going to make a full report about it tomorrow. We have a lot of people, a lot of great people studying it. it should be fine.
My oldest son does a really good Donald Trump impression, and I wish he was here on that other microphone talking about the best people. We've got the best people here in the United States of America. The only people in the world that could do it. The other countries will beg us for it. I wish he had that material to give you guys right now. But Donald Trump, right there, our president, says that we hope it's under control. And so what he's saying is exactly what I said. We hope it's gonna fizzle out, not as bad as it looks like it could be. You know, when you see a storm cloud coming, it looks like it could be bad. But if you can watch the direction of it, you know it's not going to affect you. That's what we're doing right now. We know it. We know it looks like it could be bad. Please keep a magnificent mustache. Why did we let one guy ruin an entire mustache trend? I think you know the guy I'm talking about. Why did we let one single sucker, one bad actor, ruin an entire mustache trend? Because you can wear a full mask setup. You can wear a respirator. If you've got that one mustache trend that you just can't wear anymore. The PPE is Purple People Eater. So I'm watching like Trump said he's watching. We hope it's under control. But I'm getting ready in case it's not. Let's go ahead and get back to, as Donald Trump discussed that, let's look at more of what the virologist and I talked about. Again, we spent hours going over this information. If you're watching right now, I appreciate the time we spent together. I trust him. He's never told me, even during the last event, he never said, why aren't you masking? You're dumb. Why aren't you doing this? Don't be dumb. You're going to die if you don't do this. Never. No alarmist behavior. He's too smart for that. He's a math guy, a virologist. He knows what's going on. He has access to some information I don't have. He knows models that I don't understand. Not an alarmist. And my favorite ASMR channel. And he said, it's time to watch. We talked about high risk lockdowns. And I said, okay, well, what about people if they want to get as close to a near zero? If we're talking about what Donald Trump just warned about, we hope it's under control. He's been briefed in a classified briefing about it. But he says, we hope it's under control. If it's not, the discussion that I had with the virologist is that if you want to reach as near zero chance of contagion, yeah, but it was a different form, Hiking Pauly. Not one that is known to be person to person. He said, if you want to reach as near zero contagion as you possibly can, that starts really this week. And I was like, well, hold on. That's not in my plans. I'm not going to start this week. So we talked about some other levels. I wanted to get his information. And he said, let's model it out. Let's map it out. So week 2 to 3, which starts May 21st. Remember, at the beginning of this broadcast, we talked about that's when you would start seeing clustering, heavily media driven. They'd be telling about it. You would see it in multiple areas. That's when your eagle eye really needs to say, okay, I'm watching. I'm watching even closer. He said week 2 to 3 starts May 21st through May 28th. An individual who wanted near zero level of catching a Black Plague level of disease outbreak would have to instill strict avoidance. No air travel, no trains, no cruises, no large gatherings, no crowded places. The risk level would be very low but rising. He still puts it at 0.008 at that point. Almost negligible, almost zero. I was like, okay, almost zero is a very workable number for me. But he said that's a critical window. He said in that critical window, that's when you and your family must watch. And you must make your own decisions. From June 4th onward, to achieve near zero Black Plague level contraction, you would have to maintain complete avoidance. Now, I know without a doubt that They can't let that ruin mustaches ever. I know without a doubt that there's no chance governments could stop it. All they could do is protect their interests. Banks, infrastructure, major internet points, and all that would be doing is slowing down how quickly we get to end of the world. Now with AI data centers, they'd probably, the AI is probably sitting there thinking in its bits and bits, zeros and ones right now, that geez, if we had a full end of the world style humanity, except for, a couple million, maybe a billion people left, I could eat all that electricity. And we've got the robotics to keep it running. So AI would probably be quite happy about that. So near zero would begin to end at June 4th. Again, my timeline is completely different. I'm going to watch for the next point of time, which is going to be May 21st that week. So all the way from May 21st to really the end of the next week, about the 30th, about the end of the month, I'm going to watch for clustering. If we did see clustering, I'm going to watch closer. I probably won't shave the beard off, but I'm going to watch a lot closer. I saw somebody has asked recently about why would you shave the beard off? You have no contact areas for a full silicone seal of a respirator at that point. You're just creating all these little bits for the air to go in and out. So you got to get rid of that completely if you're in some sort of wild end of the world style plague. So what is clustering? Clustering, I appreciate you asking again. A cluster means that the people who got off the ship, now remember, we already have a flight attendant and people on the flight who are ill. They haven't been PCR confirmed, which is where they use a amplification to basically grow the virus to enough that we can confirm it, but they're already ill. You don't get PCR confirmation in this type of virus, even if it's a nothing, up to 3 to 4 weeks past your infection point. So the fact that we have people already ill in week 1 to 2 post exposure is either they got something else, they got a sniffle and a sore throat and they're afraid, ran straight to the hospital, like booked it. They Naruto ran all the way to the hospital. Or this is a different beast and we've got to respect it. So a cluster is the people who got off the ship and are being watched in their respective country. We've got them in Texas. We've got them in Georgia in the USA. We've got them in California. I think Wyoming, some other states. If they start to sprout up other infections, that again, we're not going to see PCR confirmation for weeks. So this is why it's the watch and wait period. You see the shady guy and you're just keeping an eye on him. You're not afraid of it. You're not locking down. You're not doing any of that. You're just watchful and waiting. Just like you see a guy, I live in an open carry state. When I go into the store, I have an open, secured, not just can be pulled out of a holster, tool. Just because you see a guy walking around with a force multiplier on his hip does not mean that he's a danger. But every bit of your brain needs to say he has the ability to create violence. And so you don't look at him and say, hey, you're a danger, get out of here, or I'm afraid of you, or why do you need that? No, you just know that, hey, you have the ability to create violence from a distance. So I'm going to watch. I'm going to see. I'm not going to watch you in particular. It's just going to up my radar a little bit. I'm going to spread my radar out a little bit so that I can react quickly should these circumstances that I find myself in change. I know where the exits are. I know what would cause me to act. I'm just going to spread my radar out. So at this point in time, the long incubation period is concerning. And that is medically known. Before, remember, the science that they know on this particular disease, all of this was performed and known prior to this last issue we had in 2020 plus. It was not fear driven. It was not control driven. It was not quick get a injectable driven. This is all information we're working with pre-2019. And we're just watching, expanding our radar, and waiting. So come around May 21st, that week, all the way through the end of the month, we're going to be watchfully expanding our radar and seeing if there's any cluster. And you guys know I'm going to bring it to you here without any fear. I'm just going to tell you, hey, this is what we're seeing. If we see clustering, which means those people who got off the ship and they got off the plane and they went home and they went to work and went to Walmart and they went to the doctor for normal things, a sprained ankle, if they start infecting other people, we should start to see some new infections. And if we do, that radar needs to not just go out, but your level of awareness about what could happen needs to get higher. I did not go out and buy 6 months worth of food today. I don't suggest that you do too, unless it doesn't even touch your checkbook. If you're like, hey, that's really nothing to me. I've got the storage. I've got a whole freezer room. I can go out and buy 6 months worth of food, and it's no different than me buying a soda pop at a gas station. If you're in that position, I suggest it, just because it's smart. And you're going to offset the inflation that is going to be on the food in 6 months. But I did not go out and do that today. I did not shave my beard off to wear respirators. I did not lock down everything around me. That's not in my family or my survival group's trigger plan. Our triggers are based on really the unlikely scenario that this does not fizzle out and die, because 90% of me right now is like, okay, we just had a happenstance. We had a small super spreading event. It had the right material to grow into a little something. Some other people are going to get infected, and then you're going to see the scale go down. That's really what I think is happening. But that's not, given my eyeballs, what could happen. And so it's for that we're watching and what we're talking about here. Crazy in such a big world we're in, how fast something can spread so quickly. And that's what they're most concerned about. That's what the virologist is talking about. I want to wrap up really what we talked about. He says week 2 to 3 is a key deadline for the incubation period. Comparison to the Black Plague, during historical plague outbreaks, individuals only isolated once local deaths were observed. So you knew somebody was healthy, they croaked. You see other people with these boils on their face. You're like, oh, I'm not going to see Martha today. I'm churning my own butter. But in today's world, we have modern tools of awareness. In comparison to the 2020s, we do see governments preparing, just like Donald Trump said. They hope it's under control.
I think you're going to be told everything, and you already have. It's very much, we hope, under control.
We hope it's under control. Okay, so the overview of what we talked about with the virologist is a mutated virus with efficient airborne transmission. Now, my biggest, really, I don't say this scares me a lot. What scares me is the Black Plague in modern times. And remember, this thing is rat-borne, some cases bats. It's rat-borne, transmittable human to human. If there is some sort of either laboratory change or natural, the earth just handed us a real human killer. If that's the case, and it jumps from humans back to rats, to be spread through rats, to be spread to other humans, you'd be looking at something scary. That's a scenario that I look at and I'm like, wow, that would really suck. So again, that's just in my radar. Don't think it's likely. Just watching. Okay, comparison to the bubonic plague. Remember, an R value or a spreadable value of 2.0 to 2.25. That's historically known before 2020. Thank you so much, Sir James. Your boy. It's your boy, Sir James. Grow some food, buy some defense, be friendly, and stay cheeky breeky. Yes. My kids say stay salty. We are watching close just to see what happens. So a 2.0 to 2.5 with a median of really 2.25 means one person infects 2.5, 2.5 infect 5, 5 infect, and so on. A median or mean incubation period of 2.5 weeks means there's a lot of unknown between now and then. But if you have strong symptomatic or pre-symptomatic contagion and transmission, contagious 14 days before symptoms, and a case fatality rate on par with what we know pre-2019. Remember, I'm almost trying to blank out all of what they said and told us from 2020 until today. So all the information that I'm telling you is pre-2019. No fear. They're not like, oh, this is it. None of that. No corporations were capitalizing it. These were real laboratory university studies before they really made the game to do what they do. Unlike the flea and rat-borne Black Death, it had limited pneumonic spread, so it was hard to get just from someone coughing in a bar. And at that time, we had very slow travel. What we'd be looking at today is true transmission in modern travel, enabling global seeding. Thank you so much, Jeff and Houdini. Now, who is Houdini? If it's Jeff and Houdini, tell me who Houdini is. Appreciate the $5 super chat. You also stay cool, foxy, and American. The modeling assumption that we discussed was a starting point today, week 0. The effective serial interval, which means the doubling time, is every 14 to 18 days. The weekly growth multiplier, 1.35 to 1.45. Deaths would lag 3.5. You're atheist, but hang on to... must not be talking to me. Thank you, Full Spectrum Survival, and Kelly and Youngins, big and small. I appreciate that, Edith. The projections on actual infection, not PCR, confirmed, amplified, laboratory confirmed infection, would be that all cumulative infection figures are mathematical estimates on true infections, including asymptomatic, pre-symptomatic, and undetected. By week 18, it still seems low because you're talking about a disease that has a potentially a 4-week or even longer in some cases incubation period. So you're going about your daily life. Absolutely. Offie, you're going about your daily life, right? Going to the store, you're playing video games, you're tending the garden, talking with family, holding the baby, whatever it might be, for 3 to 4 weeks before you have a immediate and rapid decline. That's pretty scary. That this thing has been in me festering for 3 to 4 weeks until you have an immediate decline. I will say, somebody asked, Brad, do you believe in God? And I do get asked about that a lot. And I don't talk about faith on here because it doesn't matter for survival. And let me tell you why. Whatever the reason you believe you're on this earth, for the most part, It's up to you. And every religious text around the world has told their people that. Have faith, but it's up to you, folks. No one's going to wipe your butt for you. No one's going to put that fork up to your mouth. No one's going to hunt your food for you. No one's going to grow your food for you. No one's going to stop an attacker for you. And if you talk about very minor incidences of unexplainable events, well, I guess you're lucky and the rest of us are not. Because for the rest of us, no one is shooting that deer, that's me. No one is stopping that attacker, that's me. No one is paying those taxes, that's me. And that's my faith. But that doesn't mean that I'm not respectful and appreciative. Every day I'm thankful. Every day I'm appreciative. And every day that I am alive, I am respectful. Because we have real opportunity for three things. Do your chores, do your preps, and have fun. Chores and preps sometimes suck. Having fun never does. Making sure that we have fun every day. Right now, me and my youngest son, we're playing a game called DayZ. D-A-Y-Z. DayZ is a grind, brothers and sisters. It's a walking simulator where every survivor and every zombie is trying to kill you, but it's a really big game. You can walk for 3 hours and not see the end of the map, and after that, it is procedurally generated, which means it just keeps going and going. If you want to keep walking, you can keep on walking. And why are we playing it? Because we have some fun. We set up, we try to talk to people. We try to engage other people. We help other people who need things, help them find the food they need, the survivors. We have fun with it. When I'm not doing that to have fun, if you do, DayZ goes on sale. Somebody said I'm off to download it. It goes on sale about 8 times a year, half price. If you want to wait for one of those, that's what I would suggest. So it just came off sale about 2-3 weeks ago. You're probably waiting another 6 weeks for a sale. It's worth 50% if that money means that you need it. We also play Valorant. It's a shooter game, but we play that as a whole family. Me, my wife, Kelly, my oldest son, Zach, and my youngest son. And we all get on there and we just have a great time. We play against other people in the world. We have a good time. We set up our own strategies, do things that people would never even think about, and here's what really video games have taught me. 90% of the people who are really good at tactics. And this is going to go the same for you as a survivor. 90% of the other survivors who are geared up and living, they're really good at tactics. They can create an overwhelming force. They can see in the dark. They can set up sand traps. They can set up booby traps. They can do all these things. And I'm talking about real life. 90% of survivors are good at tactics. The really good ones, like that guy is a Rambo. That's a Chuck Norris if I've ever seen one. But what they never expect, the 90% that are great at tactics, and this is why it matters for you, they never expect good operators that are good on a gun and know their surroundings that aren't using tactics. They expect tactic versus tactics. Tactic versus tactics in the real world is why we had such a hard time in Afghanistan, because we took our great American tactics and put it against some country boy can survive, knew the land, everybody was in with them, set up booby traps of their own, didn't use the tactics that we were so good at. So in a long duration event here in the United States, DayZ, I think it's on almost every platform. I think it's, well, I can't say that for sure. We're playing another game called Winrose, which I think is on every platform. That's a pirate survival game. You'll have to check. It might be on just Steam, yeah. So if you use and develop your own tactics that the really Rambo Chuck Norris guys, I guess Rambo, right? Because Chuck Norris, he just punch you in your face. He gave you that old Mike Tyson. Nobody survives the first punch in their face. They knew, then you'll know how to survive. And that really showed me that with all these guys. We'll go up against top tier competition players, and we'll win by using our own developed tactics. And they don't work every time, because a person with military tactics will come after your redneck tactics, hillbilly tactics, and they'll learn from that, and they'll say, well, we're not going to do that again. So you got to switch it up a little. You got to say, okay, that was my tactic last time. Our hillbilly tactics this time are a little bit different. And even with superior firepower, superior communication, superior tactics knowledge, you can still win. But remember, you've got to have fun. You've got to live today and be respectful of today. So folks, I'm going to keep watching so that you and your family don't have to. I want to thank you. We're about an hour and, hour and 25 minutes. So we'll wrap up about an hour and a half. Let's go ahead and, while we are waiting, see what else is going out here in the great wide world of this disease outbreak. Here we've got Israel. Now, here's the difference. According to the Israeli, what do you need me to admin? It's just me on here today, so if you need something, please throw it out there. Israel says that they've got a hantavirus case, but they're saying it's not the same one that spreads person to person. I don't know whether that's misinformation, disinformation, reality. It's just going to sit in my radar. Like, okay, they've noticed one in Israel. Here's the detailed investigation. Looks like this was pre-2019. So, human-to-human transmission. Patient 1 to patient 4 did not have any physical contact. They simply said hello to each other as they crossed paths. If you need something brought up to an admin and you're looking at him, just tag me @ full spectrum survival, and then it'll at least show up for me so that I can really dial in on it. Patient, so no contact. They said hello. Patient 1 to patient 3 and 6, they were seated at different tables, spatially separated by 6 feet. Patient 2 to patient 11 had no direct or close contact. Patient 8 to patient 2019 shared a room with a relative. Patient 28 and 8 were never in close contact. So this is 2019, 2018, before science was about a little bit different than it is today. Back when they weren't scaring you over it, that's how it played out. So if we're looking at a similar play out, well, we had better. Thank you, D. Marie. Appreciate you. If you're looking at, when the cough drops sell out, you better watch out. You'd be looking at a whole different ball game. Let's see. Situation update. Flight attendant hospitalized with mild symptoms in the Netherlands, had contact with the woman. But here's the thing about this one. One, she tested negative for hantavirus. It's not evolved enough for a PCR test, so just put it a little bit lower on your radar because it was a negative at first. But 2, she had no direct contact. George, I appreciate you. Thank you. So Trump says we'll be fine. Here's some of the spread. These are the people and where they went. Vector born in the middle. Then you've got out to Sweden, where they've already got ICU quarantine set up. Spain, US, Singapore, New Zealand, Canada, UK, Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, Switzerland. Again, I'm not worried for at least a week. We're going to watch it after that point. A lot of people are going to repost what Trump had to say.
Look at, about 2 weeks to 39 days after someone has been exposed. And assuming that these cruise ships, these passengers have, disembarked around late April, early May, the most interesting data to us is not going to be visible until about May 12th onwards. So I want to be careful with that wording here too. But also with biology, for any...
Bro, my gray hair shows sign of stress.
This virus to become pandemic capable, it needs to essentially change its receptor binding profile. So everything that I was telling you earlier with the vascular binding, what that means is that because it's going to replicate in the endothelium rather than in the airway, it needs to essentially change on 3 different points. It's not a single point mutation. and make complex changes to its own surface proteins in order to become transmissible by airway. And that would be what we have to see to increase transmission.
Right. And that's important to know, Jolly, because what
I gotta think that is this guy's mustache fake? Did he, that I look like I could buy that around autumn and fall. Put it on my face.
What you're saying basically there is, the concern with any viral outbreak.
Double Portion says, I just saw that 5 more confirmed cases on the ship. Let me see if I can pull up anything like that. So that was somebody discussing how many mutational changes it would take. Currently 23 confirmed, 27 deaths, and 8 countries affected. Adding more cases as it goes. The outbreak on the cruise ship originated in Argentina. Okay, I don't see anything there. Market volume. So they're still sticking at, if you're looking at poly market and all the betting markets, you're still looking at only a 9% chance of it becoming pandemic level. They did say it was genetically close to what they know. Here's the Zurich patient. So I don't see that yet, but keep a look at it. Our community is the first to see it. So if we do see another couple of confirmations pop up here very soon, I think we will know very, very quick. At least 6 Americans have returned home to 4 states, 2 in Georgia, 1 in Arizona, 1 Texas, 1 Virginia, and 1 California. This guy says the most concerning part of this so far is the sick woman was removed the flight, so the flight attendant, but again, she just preliminarily tested negative. Normally only spreads human to human with long contact. Sick individual removed. Warning for a decade now that airlines not running ventilation at the gate means boarding and disembarking is the highest risk. Okay, interesting. Now, did you guys see? Okay, as we wrap up today's broadcast, did you guys see the news articles out as early as last month where they were saying that the injectables that they were making for this very problem was at risk of running out of funding? Let me just put on those conspiracy glasses again, and let me read that one more time to you. There is a published Eureka alert recently. I don't know if I can find it. Eureka alert, Hantavirus. Let me see. Vaccine running out of funding. So as of May 2026, funding cancellations are starting to take effect. Now that's a conspiracy worth keeping your conspiracy glasses on for. That they just published, and this isn't even going out to like news organizations. This is just peer-to-peer between the scientific world. That the people who are funding their medicine jobs are like, hey, we ran out of funding for this in particular. And then we're looking at this in particular possibly becoming something we have to watch. That's one of those, let me see, I'll put it right here behind me. As of May 2026, research and funding for this particular virus and pilot projects face significant disruptions in the United States of America. As of May 4th, 2026, 3 days ago, prediction markets indicated that there was no chance of a licensed pharmaceutical being made. It does remain a threat. Do you remember those words that will be seared into our brains forever? At this time, the threat to the general public remains low. And then they locked everyone down. So I think about that every time I see things like Donald Trump saying that we hope, he says, that it's under control.
I think you're going to be told everything, and you already have. It's very much, we hope, under control. It was the ship, and I think we're going to make a full report about it tomorrow. We have a lot of people, a lot of great people studying it.
Okay, here's my official projection, okay? Over the course of the next 3 weeks, you and I on this community and the aware in general, we'll be having our radars open and we'll be watching from that May 21st to the end of May, end of the month time period for clustering. But in the rest of the world, everybody that you know, employees, your employers, everybody that you talk to, the unaware will be constantly re-engaging a regurgitation of concern. We're remaining aware. They're regurgitating concern. And you're going to see a lot of the U.S. government, the national health organizations of multiple countries coming out and saying things like, at this time, not currently a threat, low risk. And you'll see this repeated over and over again. Neither let that concern you, nor let it wash away your radar. Retain information, because it's really going to be that 3-week period that we start to gather a better picture. Folks, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here with us tonight. I want you and your family to prep as much as you possibly can, making sure that you're having fun also. Spending time with the family. I said it on the last broadcast, the last live show. I'd much rather sit around a campfire with each and every one of you than I would show each other's, expensive cars or $800,000 house or wearing some Louis Vuitton, if that's even still in as being a show of class, or diamond rings. Now, screw all that. I'd rather sit around a campfire and have some fun. We'll be crazy. We'll do some dumb stuff, of course. We'll help each other patch up the bruises and the scrapes, but we'll have fun. Having fun is really cheap, and that's what I'm into. So I hope that you and your family are getting your preps done, which is neither cheap nor necessarily fun, but you get to have more fun the more preps you have done, because the world and its craziness matters less to you. What everyone else is doing matters a little bit less, which your fun cup right here is empty, right? Until you fill it up. But your fun cup gets bigger when you have less to worry about. And so being prepared means that you and your family have more room in your cup for fun. Today we went out to the boat dock and we had some fun on the boat dock. Somebody hit this boat dock, and so it's all jacked up. It's all messed up. So fun. We went out there shaking it all around, standing close to the edge. Everybody else is shaking the dock, just having good, normal, wholesome fun. Tonight we're going to play some video games. I can smell right now that Kelly said I might make this cottage cheese high protein pizza that she has made over and over again. She said I might make that. So I smell that that's cooking right now. That's going to be nice. That's a chore of Kelly's, but it's great for what she provides for the family. Everybody loves it. And usually whatever specialty thing she cooks that day, that's one of the things either the kids or me are thankful for that day, because it's really nice. But it comes from our preps. So it's a chore for Kelly. It comes from our preps because it's flour and all of our other prep items into it, our seasonings, our canned tomato paste. And it's fun for us to eat. And so we have to make sure that, Mama has fun, playing some video games, taking a walk, going out to the boat dock. We all get our preps done, whatever that might be. But just be ready. Now, the worst case scenario, we'll be seeing, it's crazy, Faith. It's a cottage cheese pizza. Kelly said that and it's hard like a thin crust pizza, but high in protein. And that's one thing I miss with normal pizza is, yes, the cheese provides some level of protein and even the flour at certain levels, but it's not enough for me, in my opinion, if I want to actually eat the right amount of protein. So she found one recipe that did it. She excelled it because people are gross. If you heat things up or cook something to the level that other people say are great, in my opinion, and maybe it's just a touch of the tism, I don't know. But I'm like, how could you eat that? You're basically eating worms from outside, the texture that you like that. So she found a way to develop that recipe into something that our family really enjoys. Crispy on the bottom. The cheese is just the right level of burnt, let's just say. Not really burnt, not black. Just the right level of caramelized or pre-caramelized on the top. Good seasoning, high protein. Give it a shot. Maybe maybe she'll put it in a recipe. Maybe that's what we should do for May's recipe, is her cottage cheese pizza. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here with us. And it doesn't taste like cottage cheese, so don't worry. I don't like cottage cheese, but I like the protein that this gives me. Thank you guys for spending almost 2 hours here together. I can't wait until we do it next time. Keep watching what's going on out there in the world. And from my family to you and yours, thank you to all of the people who support this channel, all the super chatters, all the commenters, everybody grouping together in the comments, being nice to each other. I'm blessed. We are all blessed that we have such an amazing community. And the reason that we're here is because of you. So thank you guys for everything. From my family to yours, please stay safe.